you're not educated. You've been, I don't know, you're part of some radical group probably, right? And that's tiresome. And I see it all the time. There won't be anyone watching this video, but okay, so just a few mentionables. One guy named is Jordan Owen, and he's connected with Arini, actually in a bad way. They were producing a movie together on Anita Sarkeesian, who was a Gamergate person. Basically, if you don't know what that is, basically it was feminists who were trying to infiltrate games and gamers and trying to criticize games as being misogynistic. Like, she made some video of what was it, Hitman? I think it was Hitman, and Hitman you play an assassin, and it's actually a decent game, like a first-person shooter, like Max Payne kind of, but it's not. You can't just go in there and shoot everybody. It's supposed to be more stealth. And there's a part where I've never played this particular Hitman, but apparently there's one where you're in a strip club. There's these dancers at the back, women dancers, and you can kill the women dancers if you want, and then put them in a box or something. And she was saying this is misogynistic to kill these female dancers, and that their only purpose is there to be used by men or something. Anyways, she what's she doing lately? I think she sort of disappeared. Like, this was like a year or 2 year thing, and then that's it. Thunderfoot made fun of her all the time, Anita Sarkeesian. But Jordan Owen was a little bit on that too, and he was making a movie with this Arini guy, but it didn't work out. I don't really know what the details of that are, but anyways, that's how I know about Jordan Owen. But the way I found Jordan Owen actually is he made a very good critique video of the Atlas Shrugged movies. So you may know Atlas Shrugged is a famous book written by Ayn Rand, one of the most read books I think in the United States. Someone made some poor movies of Atlas Shrugged. 3 of them. There's part 1, part 2, and part 3. Each of them have different actors because it kept flopping. And he made a long critique of those videos and those movies, and it's very good. And Jordan Owen is, I guess he's some of the views from Ayn Rand he likes, which is good. And but he made some very good critiques of those movies, fantastic stuff. So that's how I found him, and I praise him every now and then for those. And some of his other stuff. He's got a good speech in that movie too that he made on Anita Sarkeesian, which I think you can find now on YouTube, or he has a link to it anyways, the movie that he made. Yeah, I think he was one of the people to buy it, but now he put it up for free. So, but anyways, he has some decent stuff. Another guy is Adam Kokesh, who was an anarchist for a while, and he was doing some. He had a channel on RT, Russian Today, it's called, the channel, but he had his own TV show called Adam versus the Man, and he was doing civil disobedience, and he got famous for that. And the last thing he had done with that kind of civil disobedience stuff is he had a shotgun, and he went to somewhere in the States near some important building, and he had someone film him getting out of the van and loading a shotgun in the street and then jumping back in the van. And he got charged for that, and he did a bit of time, which, he didn't hurt anybody, but it seems like a not doing smart idea to do that. But anyways, and he also, another reason why he got famous is he was at the Jefferson Memorial, and apparently it's illegal to dance at the Jefferson Memorial, and he thought that was stupid. I think it's stupid too. And so he went there with a bunch of other people, and he was dancing like by himself, just like jumping up and down and whatever. And the park police there arrested him, and one guy choke slammed him, and that got on YouTube and viral because people are like, "This is egregious. This is at a time when police brutality was a hot topic, and of course, so this goes viral, right?" So that was a big deal. So that's another reason why he got famous, is he did that, and he did a whole bunch of videos on the TSA. and about how they're stupid and it's egregious that they're basically putting their hands all over people every day. So, but at some point, I'm not sure, man, maybe 3 years ago or so, he stopped doing the civil disobedience stuff. I guess after he did some time, he stopped doing that stuff. And I guess probably because he was on probation or something. And he wrote a book called Freedom when he was in jail. And I don't know how well it did. I think apparently it did well. It's a short little book on freedom. And I read a little bit of it, I think, and I wasn't impressed, so I don't think I finished it, but this was a few years ago. And since then, though, he's been doing peaceful stuff. Probably, like I said, because of the probation stuff. And he was wearing an ankle bracelet for a while. And he started this house in the desert. He was doing this homesteading. And he moved a container, like a shipping container, like those big metal. He was living in a shipping container in Arizona, I think, basically in a scrub forest, like a desert, basically almost a desert. They're called scrub forests. And he was living that for a while, and he had a girlfriend named, I don't know, I guess it doesn't matter. I don't remember her name is, but the reason why I mention that is because very recently, like a month ago or so, or 2 months ago, those two had a bad breakup, and they had done a few videos together. And she made a bunch of videos saying, or one video or two videos saying that he was abusive and awful and all this. And he's been quiet ever since. So he's had some shitty times lately. He's fucked his life up pretty much, I think. So he hasn't really been doing much for content. So that's why he's a mention, because he's kind of disappeared from YouTube. Probably because he feels a little disgraced, or I don't know. So I don't know what he's doing. He's alone in Arizona with a shipping container now. So that's unfortunate. But anyways, he had some good content for quite a while. But he was a Iraqi vet, and of course he eventually became against that stuff. But I guess his original viral video was he's in a hole in Iraq somewhere, and he had someone take a video of him, like a 20-second video of him sitting in a hole in Iraq with his army gear on, and I don't know. But anyways, he was part of the libertarian movement, but I don't know what he's doing lately. Jesse Ventura is another mention. He was on some channel, was it RT, I think, during the Trump election. He was one of the anchors. I think it was RT. But he had done a bunch of off the grid, he had a video series called Off the Grid, and he would just talk about random topics, and it was produced, and it was decent content. But he hasn't done that for probably a year now. He hasn't done any off the grid, and I don't really know what he's doing with himself. He keeps talking about wanting to run, but he's kind of a Bernie Sanders type. A lot of people were kind of upset because they thought he was a little more libertarian, but he's really more a Bernie Sanders. He's more of a eat the rich type. He's not really a freedom guy. And I've made a few, I've certainly commented on a few of his videos that I thought is, disappointed, I guess, that he's too much of a Bernie Sanders type. I think it was George Orwell who said that the problem with the left is that they while they hate the rich, they don't love the poor. And I think that's an interesting insight on the left, because they tend to be pretentious and pompous, and they tend to think that solving their problems, all they have to do is just tax the rich and take their money. But for one thing, rich people aren't stupid. They just take their money offshore. They just don't work, or they defer their income, and it's not like people are, obviously this is economic illiteracy on people who think that Bernie Sanders types that we'll just raise the corporate tax rate, we'll just get more money out of corporations. No, you won't. They'll do anything they can to defer it and get around it. and they'll reduce their production. And they'll get like the people. When you change a policy, you create a chain of reactions to your policy. It's not as if people just lay down and pay the extra tax. It's just think of anybody else. If all of a sudden there was a surcharge on beer, people are going to stop drinking beer. They'll drink wine. Like, hello, there's reactions to policies. You can't just make a policy and then people will pay it. I'm actually reading Thomas Sowell's. It's called Basic Economics. It's a huge tome. It's probably 700, 800 pages. And I'm actually at about page 500 right now. I'm past half. And just recently, I think I was reading a chapter on taxes, and he says that often if you lower taxes, you get more income, more tax revenue. He makes a very clear distinction between tax revenue and taxes, tax rates, because the higher your tax rate, and there's something called the Laffer curve, although you didn't talk about it, but it's the same concept. The higher the tax rate, the more you'll get fraud, evasion, and deferral, meaning that people will change their behavior, change their spending, or put their money offshore to lower tax areas. But if you lower taxes, more people will bring their money back home. They won't leave it offshore. They'll invest in things, and they'll put up with the lower tax and just pay it. They won't try to get around it. They won't hire an accountant to try to find loopholes. They'll just pay it if it's low enough, right? Because it's just not worth trying to get around because it's a low tax. So often, if you lower taxes, you'll get more tax revenues. But here's why it doesn't always work out that way. Because to run for office and to say that you're going to raise taxes appeals to certain prejudices in people who have no economic education. And so when the left run for office, they will almost always say, oh, well, we're going to raise corporate taxes because they have to pay their fair share, right? That's the cliche. But that's economic illiteracy, because first of all, they already pay their fair share. Most of the taxes are paid. They pay a lot of taxes, corporations and wealthy people. They pay way more taxes than middle class and poor people, that's for sure. But also, like I've been saying, if you raise taxes, you will get changes in behavior and you will end up losing money. But so why do they do it? These politicians know that. But why do they do it? Why do they tell people that we're going to raise taxes on them? Because it gets them elected, right? This is one of the problems with democracy also, is that it appeals to short-term interests, and it also appeals to the prejudices of people versus, and I don't advocate for a monarchy, but a monarch at least has the long term because they are in until they die, right? So then they're more interested in the long term than the short term, because when a politician's finished, you think Obama's worried about the after effects of his policies? Like, when's the last time a politician was dragged in because of their policies after they finished office? Even up here in Ontario, we've had an awful time with our politicians, but nothing will happen. They won't pay any price for the damage they've done. And I've often been thinking, at what point can you damage a country so much economically, or a country or a province or a state or a nation? At what point would it become treason? And I don't think there is a point. It doesn't really matter. If you can damage a country all you like and it doesn't harm you. There's no you would have to have your party would have to rebel against you to call an election. So we're kind of stuck in that regard. All right, where was I? So Ventura, yeah. Jesse Ventura, I talked about that. So another one, Jan Helfeld. He is a reporter. But what he really is a political assassin, because what he does is, some people call him a Socratic. When he interviews people, he tries to get them to roll into a contradiction. So he'll run up to Republican senators or congressmen, and he'll ask them that, are you in favor of the redistribution of wealth? And usually Republicans will say no, because that's basically socialism. But then after that, he'll ask them, but are you in favor of Social Security? And but now what do they say? Because they know that older people depend on Social Security, and older people also usually are more Republican. So they're screwed, and so they're stuck, right? So that's one of the contradictions of Republicans. He's not partisan in that regard. He'll talk to anybody and show that they hold hypocritical views. So Jan Helfeld is interesting. He doesn't do a lot of videos, but he has all kinds of. He's got some good old interviews that people get mad at him and tell him to get the hell out and stuff like that. It's kind of funny, but he has done a few recent videos of stuff on the Trump debates, which are decent videos. So that's just another mention. Another mention is Pat Condell. He's a British guy, fantastic content. He just talks to the camera and mostly about Islam, but he does very good stuff. And he hasn't done anything lately. I don't think I've seen a video from him in 3 months. But you'd think he would do a video about Trump. Maybe he will. But he's very good. Pat Condell. All right. I do every now and then look up radio type people like Mark Levin, because I do like the constitutional argument. I should mention just quickly that Trump is a strange phenomenon because he's not a constitutionalist. He's not religious. Yet he's a Republican. And he also has some democratic views, like he doesn't want to totally destroy Obamacare. He wants to revise it in some way. That's not a Republican value. So the Republican Party is never going to be the same because they elected a non-religious and non-constitutionalist. It's very odd. But Mark Levin is very good on constitutional stuff. So I do once in a while check him out. There's Rush Limbaugh, although I don't really listen to his stuff, but he's certainly out there. Mark Stein is good every now and then. Mostly about Islam is what he talks about. I should mention another person who's he's not a radio guy, but Victor Davis Hanson is fantastic. I've read one of his books, but I have probably 4 of his books, 4 or 5. He is a classicist, so he's classics, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, but he's on the military side, so he's also a military historian. And he has some fantastic videos on World War II, on Vietnam, on ancient Greece. There's one on why ancient Greece matters, something like that. But the World War II one also is just fantastic. He's got some really good stuff out there. Victor Davis Hanson. Another one is Thomas Sowell, of course, I've already mentioned. And I'm reading his economics book. But Thomas Sowell doesn't do a lot of interviews. There's not a lot of his content online. He does have some stuff through the Hoover Institution, who he works for now as a fellow. But he has some pretty good content out there. Thomas Sowell on economics, of course. I think he studied under Milton Friedman, who I've heard was probably right, the most important economist in the later 20th century. So, anyways, Thomas Sowell is another fantastic person to look up. All right, so that's been my commentary and ramble, long video on stuff on YouTube that I regularly watch. And if I missed anything, or there's stuff that you found that you've enjoyed that you think I would enjoy, please let me know.